I was looking at a video by To Be Serious, and it was something about, well, I can't remember the bloody title now. It was like Men Have It Bad Too. It wasn't that, but it was about, you know, how we see men and women, and what kinds of roles they have, how we bring them up, you know, that kind of thing. And there's a sentiment which I think, Karen, I think you introduced there, which was this idea that we should see each other as humans first. And Volker left a comment to that effect. He says he always sees people as humans first, and then follows that up with about something about consciousness. See people as humans first. That's who I'm conscious of. It was something like that, which is again an admirable sentiment. But I have to say, I don't think that's possible. I don't think it's possible to see people as human, at least under normal circumstances. I don't think that's how it works. And here I guess I'm thinking of what I call basic level categories, which is a piece of cognitive linguistics stuff, or not cognitive, yeah, cognitive science stuff. And it's researched by Rosch primarily, but with a bunch of other people as well. And it's about how we experience the world. And what they say is that when we experience the world, the level of detail that we experience it at is what they call a basic level, which means there's a level of abstraction. And we kind of live through a world of abstractions, but the abstractions are a certain level appropriate to our circumstances. And they say that reveals itself in language. So if you were with me now and I said, "What's this?" you'd probably say it's a tree. Yeah, it's a tree, it's a tree. You'd probably not say, actually this is where I reveal my ignorance, you'd probably not say it's a sycamore tree, or nor would you probably say it's a plant. You wouldn't do that. You would hit the level of abstraction just there by saying it's tree. You wouldn't go to what's called the superordinate category saying it's a plant, nor would you go to the subordinate category say it's a sycamore. You would say tree. And the same, you know, if we're in the house, you know, and I pointed to an object in the room and say, "What's that?" you'd probably say it's a chair. You wouldn't say it's an article of furniture, or it's a Queen Anne chair, or whatever. Again, you would hit that at the level of abstraction. And what they say is that and this I think is developed in what's he called, Mark Johnson. He says that the reason why we hit that level of abstraction each time is to do with the affordances that we have with these objects, and to do with the kinesthetic relationship we have with them. And again, this is coming out of J.J. Gibson's work actually on affordances. But you know, we like the chair example is better than the tree. You know, you would say chair because the salient feature of that article of furniture is the fully embodied kinesthetic relationship we tend to have with it, which is one of sitting on it. You know, that's the level of abstraction we hit at, the level at which it actually affects our lives. You know, unless we're antiques experts, we don't need to care that it's a Queen Anne chair. We don't need to think about its value, because that's irrelevant to us. The only relevance it has is that it's capable of being sat upon. Similarly, we don't think about it as an article of furniture, because again, unless we're furniture dealers, or unless we're carrying out an inventory of some kind, that level of abstraction is irrelevant to us. The level of abstraction that's relevant is its affordance, what it can do for us. Now, of course, that changes, as I suggested. You know, if you're an antiques expert, your level may be different. If you're in these woods with me right now and you're for the Forestry Commission, or you're a tree surgeon, and I said, "What's that?" you probably would say, "Oh, it's a sycamore, and it needs lopping at the top here, and yeah, it needs to be whatever," you know what I mean? Because you would have a level of engagement with it which was particular to its species. Or alternatively, you know, if you were drawing some kind of a evolutionary diagram, breaking up the world into categories, and I was saying, you know, "What's this?" and you were contrasting it to animals and insects and bacteria, you'd say, "Oh, it's a plant," because that's the level of abstraction that would be important for you. But for us, for most people, walking through the world in the way that most people walk through the world, it's a tree, it's a chair, and so on. That's the basic level category. And I think the same is true for how we approach people. You know, because when you meet a person, You know, what level of abstraction do you see them at? I mean, you don't see them as a carbon-based life form. You don't say, oh, it's a carbon-based life form, or it's a mammal. Nor necessarily do you go below that to the superordinate category and say, all right, it's a male Caucasian about 53 years old. You know, you would hit it at a certain level. And I think that level you would hit it at is not human. Because we don't, you know, unless under very specific circumstances, we don't interact with one another primarily at the level of human. We interact with one another at all kinds of different levels that are salient. Maybe give a couple of counter examples. You know, if I'm in a foreign country, and I don't think I'm the only one here, particularly a non-Western country, I really notice the white faces. You know what I mean? I can't help but notice the white faces. If I'm in Europe and I pass through a crowd of people, I notice these people are speaking English. You know, that salient level of abstraction, the English people, jumps out at me. The only way that their humanness would jump out at me is, as a basic level category, is if I was in a different star system surrounded by aliens. You know, if I was in that bar in the first Star Wars film and there's all these aliens and someone said, what's that? I would say, oh, it's a human. You know what I mean? Because that would be a salient category to identify. Or if I was to narrow it down to the superordinate again, if I was with a group of people and I said, who's that? A person might introduce me by name. But generally, you know, it's neither of those. The general level of abstraction we hit one another at and perceive one another at is neither at the level of human nor at the level of a particular human. It's other things, which might be something to do with ethnicity, or might be something to do with degree of ability, or might be to do with age group. But I think predominantly, and I'm echoing Helen Sisu here, predominantly is at the level of gender. The first thing we see is male or female, and I think there's some evidence to back this up, but I can't bring it to mind right now. And I think that's because, historically at least, the affordance that we bring to each other is often relationship affordances. You know, you and I, you are a woman and I'm a man, and we can afford one another some kind of benefit, and that's the level we hit it at historically, and our affordances are built up to recognise one another at that level of abstraction, I suspect. And it can be demonstrated. I mean, I'm pretty sure I could find some experimental evidence for this. But having said that, the thing that Volta said in the second part of his comment to do with consciousness, I think is really salient. Because because we do have this second chamber, don't we? We do have this echo chamber of consciousness. We have the seeing, and then we have the seeing that we're seeing. So we recognise this person first as, oh, woman or man, and then we recognise our recognition, and we can choose to ignore that, or we can choose to enhance it even, acknowledge it and enjoy it, let's say. But for most circumstances, I think we would choose to ignore it. We'd say, oh yes, I've recognised her as a woman because that's the way my psyche has evolved through its affordances and the construction of basic level categories out of that. But that's not really salient to my offering this person a position as an employee, or it's not salient to my having a conversation with this person right now. And that's where consciousness becomes really important. We do get a second bite of the cherry, don't we? We can evaluate our own recognitions. But it is secondary. It does come in after the fact. We can't first. I don't think we can first, under normal circumstances, unless we're surrounded by aliens or other animals, we can't first see people as humans. We first see people as male-female, or possibly black-white, or possibly old-young. And only after that can we think, oh yes, that's not a relevant level of abstraction, I better step up to the superordinate category and just think of this person as a human. Yes. It's not always easy though, is it?